Thank you once again for joining us today for Wayne's World. I'm Wayne Dawson, and my next guest is a judge, a yoga teacher, a motivational speaker, a life skills coach, an author, and a philanthropist. And he also happens to be my brother. Please welcome Judge William Dawson to the show this morning. How you doing?
I'm wonderful, Wayne. How are you?
I'm doing good. This may be a first. Me actually interviewing you on a situation like this. I don't know if I've ever interviewed you.
I don't know.
We've done interviews together.
Yeah, it's interesting because you've been on air for so long, and as I was driving down, I said, man, I've had to do this once before, but maybe not.
Maybe not.
I finally made myself newsworthy. Is that what it is, Wayne?
Pretty much.
Okay, well, it took a long time. It took a long time. Had to get a lot of dots behind my name and all these things, but thank you, though.
You've done a lot, man, in your years, no doubt about that. And let's start with our hometown of East Cleveland.
Yes.
You know, the things that are going on right now, you got two mayors.
Two mayors.
Just your reaction to that, man. First of all, I know it has to break your heart, because it breaks my heart.
Yeah. What breaks my heart the most about the current state of East Cleveland is the overwhelming sense of negativity. Even beyond just having two mayors, even beyond being in fiscal emergency and things like that, it's just the negative influence from certain people, groups of people who seem to just want to see the city fail.
Why do you think that has happened?
You know, I don't know. I don't know if it's a smaller view of what's happening in the world, right? I mean, in our political climate right now, there's so much chaos. Mm-hmm. So when I look at East Cleveland, I say it's a microcosm of that. It's just so small and insulated that you feel it more. Mm-hmm. But there are just some people who don't want to see others strive. Yeah. And a city like East Cleveland has the ability to be great, but you have those who, for whatever reason, either want the power or they want the credit, but they don't want the city to succeed.
How do you fly above the chaos?
Wayne, I think it's partially because we were raised there, you know, and there is a deep love for that city. All of these actors who are, you know, bad actors or negative that are influencing the city, they're not from the city. Right. You know, they didn't grow up in those streets. They didn't walk from, you know, home to elementary school to the corner store. So they claim they have a love for the city, but I think many people, especially when you get into politics, they have a love for power. Mm-hmm. And I'm there really to serve, Wayne, that's it.
And you've been doing that, we're gonna talk about that. In your mind, what is it going to take to turn the city around? When I moved to East Cleveland years ago, I thought we were rich. Yeah. 2-bedroom house, you know, one bath, but I thought we were rich. And even when you grew up, it was a different city. What do you think it's going to take to turn East Cleveland, or to return it to greatness, or to where it was?
You know, I think it's going to take leadership from two parties, because I can't do it on my own. I love being the judge, but a judge has its own role that is very specific. And I try to lead by example, just as you do. But I think it's going to take a mayor and a city council who are serious about leadership and turning the city around. Not about ego, not about eliminating political enemies, not about, you know, being popular, but more so about the city. And I truly believe we will move in that direction. The barrier is that East Cleveland doesn't have a lot of money. So East Cleveland can't get the best talent in. It has to be someone who has a heart for service and a heart for people, and who can see the long-term benefit and not just the immediate financial benefit.
I know you've been asked this question. Have you ever considered running for mayor of East Cleveland?
I've been asked that question. I probably get that question asked every single day. And absolutely not. You know, Wayne, you know, I love what I do, and I can't wait till we get into it, but I am able to fulfill my God-given purpose, which is to help people be the best they can be. That's not a political purpose. You know, that politics takes that out of the picture. But as a judge, I can actually change lives. I can be a minister of sorts.
That's true.
From the bench. But you can't do that when you're the mayor. You know, you have to wheel and deal and negotiate and all these things as a judge.
You're in the midst of the political machine and all that stuff.
Absolutely, but as a judge, I can sit back and figure out, how can I help you change your life? If I can't save anybody else, maybe I can save that one person.
Talk about your path to being a judge. And I know it's a long path.
It's a long path.
But just give us just for our viewers how you made it to being a judge.
You know, it's really interesting because when I look back on it, it's a very blessed path.
Because I remember you wanting to be a drummer.
Wayne, I wanted to be a drummer. Before I wanted to be a drummer, I wanted to be a neurosurgeon.
Okay.
Before that, I was just a knucklehead in East Cleveland, doing the wrong thing, hanging with the wrong people, driving my mother crazy. Let's keep it real. Worrying you, because my mom would call you, so I know you were worried about the path that I was on.
I'd make the trek from Kent State University
Yes.
to try to give you some words of advice.
Exactly, before you saw me just fall off the rails. So, that was the beginning. But then as I went through school, I'll tell you what made me lean toward being a judge. I loved working. That was easy. But after a while, I said, you know what? I want to go to law school because I see lawyers are doing the same thing I'm doing on my 9 to 5. I was a claims adjuster. So that tells you, everybody, you can change what you're doing. I was a claims adjuster, and I said, you know what? I'm writing all these checks to lawyers, and I've done all the work. What's up with that? So I said, I need to go to law school. So I started going to law school in the evening while working during the day. And then after that, my clientele just so happened to be all of the friends I grew up with in East Cleveland.
Were you defense attorney?
Yeah, well, no, my friends as the ones who were still committing crimes and doing wrong things. So they were my clients. So it was easy for me, but at some point it clicked, Wayne. And I think it's just some of the things I've gone through as a lawyer, and we can get into it or not. But I wanted to do more than help people win cases. I wanted to help people change their lives. So I knew at that point I need to shift here.
Let me ask you this. We are both dealing with negativity as young people in East Cleveland. How did you overcome that whole negative environment?
Honestly, I believe what's so important, and it leads to what I'm doing right now, my big mission with what I call the School of Transformation, Wayne, it's having access to positivity. Really is. So I had a mother who loved me, which is important because I loved my mother, didn't want to let her down, but my access to positivity, my access to you as an example of positivity helped keep me on the right path. And even when I went left or right, I knew how to get back on. And what I'm seeing with a lot of our young people, they don't have that access. They don't have people that they can talk to, people that they don't want to let down. So even if now, in this new age, if we can do that virtually, we can change lives.
Do that virtually, social media kind of
Social
thing?
media, through the School of Transformation, through what I post on Instagram.
What is the School of Transformation?
The School of Transformation is my creation of a leadership platform that will give you leadership skills, whether it's in the area of avoiding negative interaction with the legal system, how to deal with the domestic violence in your home, assault, all the things that people end up getting caught up in the legal system. That's how it started, right? But let me tell you how inspiration works, Wayne. You inspire me so much. I'm driving here and I'm like, I know we're going to talk about the School of Transformation, and I need to figure out as a platform, how do I make it more accessible to the everyday person? Because not everyone thinks they need the help. They're like, I don't care about, getting out of this domestic violence, and I don't care about turning my life around. I like stealing. So I'm not going to go to the platform to find out how not to do it.
Right.
But what I'm going to do now, Wayne, is I'm going to make this platform accessible to people by answering those everyday questions that they have. Like, how do I find a good attorney? Well, I'm going to show you how to find a good attorney, but check out over here. This is how you change your life.
How do you access the School of Transformation?
You go to my website, judgedawson.com. That's the easiest way right now. Soon we're going to have our own website for it, but right now it's through judgedawson.com.
People of all ages?
All ages, absolutely.
Let's talk about your philosophy as a judge, because it's a bit different than you would really picture a judge. Yeah. Talk about that.
Wayne, my philosophy as a judge is so different. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you, because I can trust you, right?
Well, kind of.
I've known you a little bit. It's so different, Wayne, that literally, so judges, we technically don't have any bosses, right? And especially in East Cleveland, Shaker Heights, your municipal court judge, we're our own boss. But we do answer to the Supreme Court. They want to know what we're doing. My philosophy as a judge is often so different that I have to notify the Supreme Court often. Hey, this is what I'm doing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, let me tell you why. Because just like we talked about the negativity, right? So I'll put up a post that'll say, you know what? Change your life. I want you to be the best that you can be. If you go and get a job, and if you help a lady across the street, I'll vacate your fines and costs. You would think
that's the way you work.
That's a wonderful thing, right?
Okay.
But the negativity in our world, someone will report to the Supreme Court and say, hey, Judge Dawson is offering free fines and costs to help people. No, it's not that. They'll take what I do and turn it around just because there's a negative connotation. But generally speaking, they'll contact me and say, hey, Judge, we received this complaint. Look at this post. Can you explain it? I'll say, well, this is what I'm trying to do. They'll say, okay, now we understand.
Okay,
so you're right. My philosophy is so different, even with the School of Transformation. I had to let them know, guess what? The School of Transformation is absolutely free for anybody coming through my court. I'm not trying to make money off that
Does this
platform.
stem from your first book, the Cycle Breakers?
Yes.
Or the Legal Matrix?
The legal matrix.
Yeah.
So it stems from the legal matrix because I want to help people get out of the legal system, right? But then my second book, The Cycle Breaker, this is where the work comes in.
Okay.
Because in order to stay out of the legal system, in order to live your best life, oftentimes we have to figure out how to break out of that cycle.
And what's the easiest way to do that? I know it's a difficult situation
Oh my
to
gosh.
do, but how do
Well,
you
you
do
know,
that?
the first thing is, there's 4 areas of being a cycle breaker. The first one is you have to recognize that you are in a cycle. You have to recognize, hey, nobody in my family is graduating from high school. I had a guy in my courtroom today, Wayne, and as we went through his case, he's charged with murder. Now, we look at his jacket, his criminal history. He has 27 counts of other crimes and convictions, but he's standing in front of me, kind of, upset. My bailiff whispers to me and said, that's so-and-so's son. And I said, wow, the cycle.
Somebody you knew.
Somebody I knew, somebody from back in the past
Right.
who had gotten into a lot of trouble.
Right.
And here his son stands before me charged with murder. That's the cycle, right? So we have to recognize I'm in a cycle that I need to break. Then you have to commit to breaking it. I'm going to break this cycle. Then you have to get the tools. Wayne, can you mentor me? Can I talk to you?
We're talking a lot about self-discipline
Yes,
too, though, right?
absolutely.
You got to really want to do it.
Wayne, you got to really do it. And then the 4th element is you have to stay in there when the going gets tough.
What do you mean by that?
So when someone says, hey man, I know you don't smoke weed no more, man, but come on, man, let's kick it. This is my birthday. You have to be willing to say, no, I'm on a path now. I'm breaking cycles. Because as soon as you commit to doing it, all the temptation will come through the door.
How did you evolve it to this point where you are this type of judge? Why are you this kind of, because this is something that's kind of unique, the way you deal with individuals.
Wayne, not only do I think it's in the DNA from our mom and how we were raised. I mean, she raised us as compassionate young men. She raised us to put other people first. We watched her put other people first her entire life. So we were raised that way. And then, Wayne, honestly, what I went through as a judge, and I think this is important, what I went through as an attorney, and this is great for anybody that's watching that think they can't come back. When I was a young attorney, trying to go on my own and trying to make money, I made a few technical errors. And I want to say technical because they had nothing to do with stealing or anything like that. I didn't file things correctly. And because, sometimes it can be very unforgiving in that industry. I was suspended from the practice of law. And I was suspended with a new wife and a newborn child. And I had to figure out how to navigate unemployment and also strategize my comeback because I knew that wasn't going to be the end of my story.
Right.
And since that moment, I knew I didn't want to just become an attorney. I said, you know what? When I get my license back, I'm going to be a judge.
You said strategize your comeback.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
You have to actually sit down where you are, recognize where I am. I am suspended. I am unemployed, whatever it is. I am an addict. How am I going to get out of this? What are the steps I need to take? What are the pathways that I need to go toward or avoid so that I can achieve my goal? And that's what I did the entire time. I knew exactly what I needed to do. I knew what I was going to do. If I didn't get my license back, I knew the path. As soon as I got my license back, I mean, it's very rare. Think about it, Wayne. You and I spoke about it. I get my license back, and I tell you all a few months later, I'm running for judge.
Right. So the things you went through helped you as far as your position as a judge.
Absolutely, because I have compassion for people in front of me.
Compassion.
You know what I mean? We've had judges in the history of America who can throw you in jail. That's easy.
Oh, yeah.
But I look at people and say, I've been through something. I know what it's like. I want to help you, young man, young woman. You know what I mean? And I think that's why I'm in this position. I think that's why God has me in this position, because I've been through so much, and my heart is one of compassion, so that I am there to help people.
Going to take a quick break. Once again, we're speaking with Judge William Dawson. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Dawson Foundation and some other topics as well. So stay with us. Be right back. And welcome back to Wayne's World. If you're just joining us, I'm here with my brother, Judge William Dawson from the East Cleveland Municipal Court. Judge, first of all, thank you so much for taking time out to visit me today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, anytime.
Now, you're on TikTok.
Yes.
And you're pretty famous on TikTok. One of the few judges on TikTok.
Yeah.
Talk about how that evolved and how effective is it?
It's interesting, when you go viral, you just never know how it happens, right? I know at this point I'm at probably 850,000 followers on TikTok. On Instagram, I'm slowly approaching around 75 to 100,000. But I think what
Can
it
I
is.
borrow some of those?
Absolutely, Wayne. I think what happens is, you put up stuff. I put up stuff from court, but I do it for the purpose of educating people on how to navigate the legal system. And I believe that if you see it, and if you see a judge with compassion, you'll know at least how to act or what to expect in courtrooms. So I've put up a couple of videos, and it just kind of grabbed people. I think the ones that grab people are the ones where judges show compassion.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so like there have been times where young men have come to court with a tie on, and I've vacated all their fines and costs based on that alone. But I don't.
What about people who say, Judge, you're too soft? These are individuals who've committed crimes.
I get that. I get that all the time, but I think that's the double-edged sword, right? Because I am a Christian judge. I'm a man of God. I believe in second chances, but I do also believe in correction. So there's correction with compassion. For instance, I have to let you know, domestic violence is an absolute deal breaker in my court.
Okay. Now, you don't deal with murders and stuff like that.
Luckily, I don't. I see them in the beginning.
Yeah, from the beginning.
From the
But
preliminary hearing.
you don't
and I pass it on. I pass it on to the other judges.
So these are things that you can give a person a second chance.
I can, but you know what? There are other times where they need to get the penalty, right? So if you are in a home and you're beating someone, you're terrorizing people in your home, you will go to jail in my courtroom.
So
but guess what, though?
jail.
But I'm going to work with rehabilitating you when you get out.
And rehabilitation means what?
You're going to be in the School of Transformation. Oh, so let me explain this fully. The School of Transformation in East Cleveland used to be called probation.
Okay.
But we're not about probation. I'm about transforming lives. So I renamed our probation department. I have a chief transformation officer. So the point is, when you come back from being in jail, now we're going to rebuild you. We're going to put you in programs to help you with your anger management, to help you with decision making. My most popular and the one program that everyone goes through is called Character Building 101.
Okay.
So we talk about how to build a character,
How
a good
successful
character.
is this?
It is amazingly successful as far as I'm concerned, because all of my probationers go through it. They all thank me when they're done, and I can actually see the change in people. So that's the key.
All right, the second part of your career has to do with yoga.
Yes.
And so, how did you get into it? And I know now you have a studio. Talk about what part does yoga play in your life, in your existence?
Wow, yoga is a very important part of my existence because for me, I've allowed it to align with everything I do. So it helps me physically, it helps me spiritually, it helps me mentally. So for me, when I go to meditate, I'm talking to God, I'm praying, I'm listening to God, but that's my meditation. And how do you learn to be a good meditator? You learn yoga because the yoga poses that we do prepare your body to sit in meditation. See, a lot of people don't realize that. Everyone thinks yoga is about doing one-arm handstands, which I can do.
Yeah, I've seen that.
But it's more so about training your body physically so that you can sit still.
That's what it's basically about.
For hours and listen to God.
How long can you sit still?
I haven't tried to sit still that long. It's Dawson, man. We're busy, but I meditate every morning. So I'll do at least 10 to 20 minutes every single morning. But the key is my body's not hurting when I get up because I've done all these other things, the downward facing dogs, the extended mountain poses. So yoga plays an important part. And let me tell you, the way I got into it, Wayne, is because being in court can be stressful.
Right.
Somebody suggested going to take some yoga during lunch. I went to a studio during my lunch break. And from that moment on, I was hooked.
And now you have a studio, the Yoga Lab.
I have a studio called the Yoga Lab in Cleveland Heights. I have a teacher training program. So I train future yoga teachers. So it's just been an amazing journey, Wayne. It's one where I feel that I'm really connected to the community. So let me tell you this, though. Someone described it perfectly to me when they were talking about their business. My yoga studio, the Yoga Lab, is basically an expensive hobby.
Well, that's
because I'm funding the studio. You know what I mean, for the most part. It's not for profit, but I feel so good, Wayne. When people walk in here, the first thing they say is, "Wow." As soon as I walked in, I felt lighter.
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it's one where you can really just find your moment of peace, and that's important.
And your family. Now, how do you have time to juggle all of these different parts of William Dawson?
Wayne, I think it's being intentional about it. So, for instance, to say that I'm home every day by 5 o'clock for dinner. I don't miss a dinner. My weekends are dedicated to my family. So it's just being intentional about your time. And when you are with your family, be with your family.
What
you
do
know
you
what I
mean by
mean?
that? Just focus.
Be present.
Be
you know
present.
what I mean? Listen to them, engage with them. You know, not always on the phone, not always handling business. So that's important.
Don't be on. Don't talk to your son or daughter.
Yeah,
when
like
you're working
this.
online.
You know, that way they feel the love and they feel the fulfillment of having dad there. You know, so when I'm there, I'm there. I don't miss my daughter's track meets. I don't miss my son's karate tournaments. But that's just my labor of love.
All right, let's talk about the Dawson Foundation. You know, just we gave scholarships away this year.
Yes.
And we've been doing it for many, many years.
Wayne.
Talk about the foundation and the formation of the Dawson Foundation.
You know, oftentimes I allow you to give me all the credit for forming the foundation, but it's not that way. We both wanted a way to honor what Annie Dawson instilled in us. You know what I mean? So, you know, you may have been busy at the exact moment, but anytime, you know, we come up with these ideas, we talk as brothers. So we decided to form this foundation to honor everything that Annie Dawson taught us. So we have justice because, hey, I'm in the law, and my mom was about justice. You know that. You know, my mom told me many times, if you're out here doing wrong, I'm going to be the one to put you in jail or take you out. So my mom was about justice, she was about education, and she was about achievement. So that's what we did with this foundation, and we have been blessing our community with it for years. We are over $100,000 now
Yes, over
in
$100,000.
scholarships that we've given away, coats for kids, leadership programs, mentorship, feeding the homeless. I mean, I think we're passionate about giving back, and I love that.
And we've been doing it for many, many years now.
Yes, we
As
have.
you said, we do it in honor of our mother. And I remember she used to tell me, you know, that that she would take me out.
Yes, she did.
If she caught me doing wrong.
Right.
And education was, I remember as a kid, you know, doing something as simple as spelling words. She would have me in tears.
Yes,
really
she
get it
would.
right. So.
Yes, she would. She stayed on us.
Yeah, she
and
did.
and even you know, my nieces, which are your daughters, same thing. Mom was all about education, all about making sure that we realized that was a key, one of the keys to success.
We used to do the bowling event, which we don't do anymore. Hopefully we can do that again.
Yes, yeah.
But we still do the Cycle Breakers Conference.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Our conference is amazing because honestly, Wayne, it's one of a kind. See, all these things that we do that we really don't, you know, we try not to think about it, talk about it, but it's amazing. Every year we bring kids from Northeast Ohio, all the schools. We invite everyone. It's a day of free empowerment. We feed
that's the
them.
key.
We have speakers come out who volunteer their time. It's just, and it's in a beautiful location. We've been everywhere. We've been at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We've been, you know, at Tri-C. We've been in a lot of locations, but it's all about empowering the youth. And then Wayne, I was telling you, sparked from an elementary school who started an award called the Cycle Breaker Award. They call it the Judge Dawson Cycle Breaker Award.
Yeah.
We're now going to incorporate that too, because basically what we're looking for when we give out this award is someone who's already going to get our scholarship, but they've also shown that they have a mindset and a heart for service.
And that's the key.
And
Giving
sacrifice
back.
for others and giving back.
What does giving back mean to you, and why is it so important to you, man?
You know, at this phase of my life, giving back is everything. You know, even when I'm teaching yoga or when I'm on the bench, that's when I'm most fulfilled because I know I'm pouring into other people. People are in front of me who need something. Either in yoga, they come for it because they know they need it, or if you are defending in my court, I see that you need it. So that is the way that I really feel full. You know, it's not about making money anymore. It's not about, you know, being the richest person in the world. The riches come from serving God and being a servant and doing His will. And I really believe when I'm helping people that God is smiling, saying, you know what, that guy's doing my work.
Well done, my good and faithful
There it is,
servant.
absolutely.
Enter into the presence of the Lord.
That's right.
Excellent, man.
That's right.
Thank you so much. I've learned a lot about you.
Well, you know, we can continue to hang out if you don't mind. You know, every now and then we can get together.
Been talking with my brother, Judge William Dawson, the judge of the East Cleveland Municipal Court. Once again, thank you for taking time. I know you're a busy man.
My
God bless
pleasure.
you. Appreciate you, brother.
My pleasure.
Remember, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, with God's help, it can achieve. Thanks for joining us on Wayne's World. See you again next week.